Hello everyone, this is Gene. I'm from NYC and I just made a big mistake. I read a comicbook.com article and now I'm very upset. And annoyed. And sleepy. And upset and annoyed. I blame Crimson Sin for this. But anyway, let me get to the point of the video because I really don't want to spend too much time on it. I had a long day, but this just would not leave my mind, and like I said, I am actually sincerely irked by what I just read. So, I saw a Crimson Sin post, and the Crimson Sin guys are nice. I'm just joking when I say that I blame them. But I saw a Crimson Sin post where they show a snapshot, I think it is, of a comicbook.com article where apparently it talks about how Kevin Feige, who of course is the director of the Captain Marvel film and of course the MCU films in general, talks about how Captain Marvel doesn't have a love story, right? There's no romantic male interest for Carol in this film. And after reading the article itself, I was just so miffed for a number of reasons. Let me go over them. Number one, and probably the most important, if they truly wanted to attract a female audience, why would you not include a male love interest? Women eat up romance. We love love stories, okay? And I say that as a happily single tomboy. Even I like a good love story, okay? My favorite cartoon of the 1990s is Gargoyles. That had a love story between its two leads, between the human woman and the giant gargoyle. Loved it. Okay, that was one of the highlights of the show for me, even as a little kid. My favorite film of all time is Beauty and the Beast. Again, love story from beginning to end. It's a love story. Again, woman falls in love with a beast-like creature, or at least he's a man inside of a beast-like creature. But anyway, again, it's a love story. This is how Disney made its name. You know, creating love stories for mainly little girls. How in the world do you expect to get a large female audience for this film if you're not going to feature a love story? If you're not going to feature a romance? I'm not saying it has to dominate the film or even be the main focus of the film, but how in the world do you expect to bring a lot of women in if you're not going to feature something that the majority of women actually like and enjoy? Let me give you some other examples of, again, what women like and enjoy. Right? Romance novels. Basically written for women, by women. What do they feature? A lot of sex and relationship issues. What's one of the biggest trio of films to come out recently? 50 Shades of Grey. What is that, ultimately? Aside from a very bad fan fiction of Twilight. It's an erotic love story. It plays on classic tropes and ideas coming from fairy tales such as Beauty and the Beast and Snow White. You look at other things. You look at shows like Grey's Anatomy or Scandal or what was it called? Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, Sex and the City. Right? Those all had large female audiences. You know what else they had? Lots of handsome, attractive men, lots of relationship drama, and lots of sex. This is what generally will attract, especially a grown adult female audience. So it just rattles my mind how they keep talking about how they want women to come out for this film and that it's pro-woman, yet you won't add the one thing that women tend to like a lot. Men. Right, and again, I am not trying to by any ways, minimize or reduce or, somehow erase or not acknowledge the fact that not every woman is straight. I get that. This is not about, at least it's not overtly about sexuality. It's simply about what appealing to what appeals to most women. And most women find men and find relationships with men and sex with men appealing. Again, I'm not trying to, erase or anything of that sort. I'm just pointing out what I view to be the fairly obvious. Girls like boys. We like being in relationships with them so long as the relationships are healthy. We like having families with them. And we like seeing this reflected in our media. Again, this is why women tend toward things like Scandal and, what's it called? and soap operas and things of that nature. We like this stuff. I don't know why. I guess maybe it's biological. I don't know, but we do. Again, even I'm not entirely impervious to it. I don't think anybody is. Well, most people, I shouldn't say anybody, but most people are not impervious to it. It's just that, we just have a natural inclination toward, love and relationships and pair bonding and family and all that stuff. The majority of us have that. Or we may gain that in time. And again, I say this as somebody who is actually happy being single. But I'm not going to say that I could never, find someone or have somebody find me, who would make me change my mind on that. My point is in this ramble is that if they truly wanted to attract a female audience, they would not have left out a love story. Again, it doesn't have to dominate the film or play a super major role, but it would actually make the character of Carol more relatable, especially to a female audience, if she has somebody who she loves or loved, right? It doesn't have to be someone who's current. It could be someone from her past. It could be, a man that she loved and has moved on, or a man that she fell in love with and he died, or whatever it is. Stuff like that. There's a reason why, classic storytelling tropes, keep existing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, because it speaks to the core of the human condition. People understand love. We understand lost love, right? And again, we just eat it up. And I want to be clear, right? While I'm speaking from the female perspective, I think this in general applies to just humans, right? So men, women, regardless of your gender, your sexuality. I think that, again, just the, again, love, family aspect of human nature, impacts us all in certain ways. So, again, while I'm speaking from one side of it, I do believe that the general core concepts and principles apply to nearly everybody, just so I'm clear about that. So again, I think it's incredibly foolish on Feige's part to gloat about how there's no male love interest for Carol. You haven't made her especially strong or empowering by not giving her someone that she loves. And the funny thing is that the article mentions that films such as Alita and Wonder Woman, both which have done very well in the box office, had female leads that had male love interest. And I'm just thinking to myself, especially with Wonder Woman having come out like, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago now, it's like, wouldn't you kind of look at that and try to borrow certain elements from it, like, oh, I don't know, giving Carol a love interest? Especially since Carol is supposed to have had a history in the military. Hello. It's a well-known fact that there is a hookup culture in the military across all branches. Because where there are boys and where there are girls, there will be hookups. Right, this is, look at these two here. This is one of the most enduring romances in friggin' anime and manga. And these two never even got so far as kissing. Yet people ate it up, right? Why? Because guess what? Seeing how much she loves him and seeing how much he loves her, speaks to the human spirit and the heart and all that mushy gushy stuff. And we saw how their love for each other drove them. How it made them fight harder. Riza literally stayed alive long enough to tell Roy with a look to not perform human transmutation. And Roy obeyed. Why? Because he loves her. Roy stood down when he had a chance to kill Envy. Why? Because he loves her. And she loves him. But anyway, my fangirling aside, right? Feige that was just bad call, Feige. But I also want to take this, especially since I'm hitting on 2 minutes, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I also wanted to just talk about how it does not weaken a woman to love a man. I am so tired of this narrative in media because it's such a falsehood. It does not weaken a woman to love a man. Same way it does not weaken a man to love a woman. Again, Riza is by no means weak because she's in love with Roy. Winry isn't weak because she's in love with Edward. Right? Take, for example, Helsing. Right? Integra's a very strong woman. She's also in love with Count Dracula himself. That doesn't make her weak. Maybe vulnerable, right? Love does make you vulnerable. But again, if it's relatively healthy, again, I know the media examples I gave aren't exactly the healthiest, but again, it's media. It's meant to be dramatic. But again, if it's strong and enduring, right, it builds you up. Ideally, if it's a somewhat healthy relationship, it will build you up. And I can go on for days, naming, different characters. You could look at Ceres Integra, again, from Helsing. Her love for Pip did not weaken her. In fact, when she lost him, that's when she actually tapped into her greatest power. Because now she was driven to avenge the loss of someone that she loved and cared for so deeply. And of course, you can look at other things. It's not just something that appears in Japanese media. You can look at, for say, Terminator, right? Sarah Connor loved Reese. Their love, wasn't gonna last, and he wasn't gonna last, but she did love him, right? Part of the reason she's fighting so hard for her son's life is because he is literally all she has left of this man who, was sadly not part of her life for too long, but not only saved her life, but also, changed it, forever. And whom she, from at least from what I can tell, did love. Right? So when they try to promote this narrative that a woman is somehow strong, right, without loving a man, or without loving, someone outside of another woman or her cat, it honestly frustrates me, even though I kind of fall into that demographic myself, again, being intentionally single and having a cat. But it doesn't mean that love makes a person weak, right? It again, if it's healthy, it doesn't. Now, can it make you vulnerable? Sure it can. Most things do. But love doesn't make you weak. Again, look at Disney, right? This is the same company, that makes all these movies, that has their claim to fame for making movies that appeal to girls, that appeal to young females. And those movies almost always feature a girl and a boy falling in love, both becoming better because of it, and having, a big old true love's kiss at the very end. So anyhow, I just had to sort of get that off of my chest, because reading it just really infuriated me how Feige is acting as if, it's a positive thing. And from the way he describes it, at least from the way he's quoted in the article on comicbook.com, it doesn't seem to me that this was an organic decision. I think, like many things with this film, they decided that they were going to take this approach of, we're not going to, give her a love interest. We're going to push the whole girl power thing, not understanding, or perhaps not caring, that if you're going to push girl power, if you're going to push woman power, you also need to, again, include men, because men are a part of our lives, and the majority of us want them as part of our lives. It's kind of why we agree to this crazy thing called marriage. And vice versa, right? Women, a lot of women, not all naturally, but a lot of women are very family oriented. Again, nothing wrong with it. Not every woman fits into this mold. I don't. But again, most women have families. Heck, one of my favorite YouTube commentators, right, Liana K, is a married woman. Right, she and her husband, to my knowledge, don't have kids, but they've been married for like 20 years. She is not a weak person because she's married to a man. She's a woman who just happens to be married to a guy. It doesn't mean that she isn't a feminist. It doesn't mean that she isn't intelligent. It doesn't mean that she's not her own person. It's just a part of her life. She happens to be a wedded woman. Nothing wrong with it. So, anyhow, that's my rambly rant. And tell me what you think. As always, you agree, you disagree, you think that my long day and lack of sleep has left me loopy. Whatever you think it is, let me know. Have a good day or night or whatever it is you're doing. Alright? See you later. Bye.